sounds like having an agent is super important. How did you all acquire your agents that are either your voiceover agent or whoever's booking you on Interactive? Sounds like there's a good story, so we'll start with Debra.
I was doing a live theater piece on La Brea Avenue, and it was from a 1950s game show called What's My Line? And so what they do is we're blindfolded, we're the panelists, and we're blindfolded, and then they bring out a celebrity, a very well-known person, and they put their name up on a board, and then after we guessed, if we're right, we take off look, it's who it is, and then they do a little interview. And so when the next person is about to come up, the name on the board gets pulled up. And because all the boards were white, when it pulls up, it looks like it disappeared. So I've been doing a baby voice for so long. And because for me, it reminds me of innocence. So when I see babies, I do it with them. And when I see people, I kind of do that. When I'm happy, I do it because it reminds me of all that innocence.
Will you please give it to us now, madame?
So the board was pulled up, and I went, and so I just got happy like it was magic. And I didn't know that one of the people on the panel, their agency came to see them in the show. And then they asked about me. They said, what else do you do? And I'm like, oh, and I didn't think it was about hiring me for voiceover or anything. I was like, oh, I like to do just stuff like that you do at home. Dog barking in the distance. Little dog. And I was just acting all crazy because I thought it was going to be fun. So, and then they were like, come into the agency. Come into the agency, which is CESD. I came in, there was a whole bunch of people there, and I didn't feel intimidated again because for me, it wasn't about auditioning. It was like, I love doing this, and I love doing this, I love doing this, and I felt like a kid, and I was like, I do this, oh, watch, I love been doing this for a long time. And it really started out coming from a place of passion and joy, so it was of no consequence whether they brought me in and really booked me, but it was a matter of, I've always loved to do this to begin with. So I don't get a chance to audition, I get a chance to share. And because that was my mindset and is my mindset now, I had to go back to, I left that and went back to those roots of I'm here to share. I'm clear and confident about what I love to do. I'm clear and confident about my passion. And I can't wait to be able to say, oh, I've been doing this. Oh, wait, I can do this. Oh, wait, we want to see this. We want to see, like a maniac. And that day, not only did they hire me, but they started putting me in the booth that day. And I've been working with them and for them ever since. That's CESD.
How did Dean connect with you?
I met Dean when I was up in San Francisco. He was teaching classes at the school that I went to. And, Marilyn Wisner, I don't know if you guys know who she is, but you should. She runs Voices voice casting, and she does Meet the Pros workshops. So you can pay like $125 and get to read for an agent. So I know Dean doesn't teach anymore, but, a lot of agents from different agencies will go to these Meet the Agents workshop nights so that you get a chance to be in front of them.
I think I told you my Scientology story, but I'm actually with a different agency now, and that's something that I wanted to address as well. Like, things do shift and change. People, there's their turnover, and sometimes your paths have to change, and sometimes you have to make those decisions. So SAP was amazing. They built my career, but there was some turnaround, and a couple of my favorite people left. So I'm actually now with Dean as well, which is a new relationship. Yeah,
he's the shit.
Yeah. So, but actually, something that did come to it's whoever believes in you, right? And whoever knows your work, and who really has your back, I think, and it's collaborative. But what I did want to say is that came to mind is you don't always get a Tom Keegan or an Ivy to direct you in an audition or in motion capture situation. I remember being in Toronto and I was like, what is he even talking about? I don't understand what this guy means. And I was the only female on set, and I wanted to address that, being a woman, not to be negative, but I think sometimes being a woman on set, sometimes you're spoken to differently. and knowing how to handle yourself. So he was sort of barking at me in a way that I felt was disrespectful. So I just pulled him aside, and it's the way you approach someone, you know. And first of all, I didn't really understand what he was saying, the way he was directing. He was like, stand here, do that, don't do that. And so all of us were having trouble clarifying. So I think it's also learning how to work with people who aren't the best, you know. And sometimes you have to, and on camera as well, of saying, oh, did you mean this? And they're like, yes, that's what I mean. And saying, well, how about this? And they're like, yes, no. So I think learning the language of your own arsenal, and I think having the courage and the bravery enough to say, that wasn't clear, do you mean this? And sometimes, you know, not all actors act great, not all directors direct well. So I think you have to sometimes learn how to self-direct or interpret. You know, and I think the second thing too, you know, as a woman, I pulled the director aside and I did say to him, I said, hey, you know, I wasn't, you know, I was like, listen, just because I'm playing commanders, I mean, you have to bark at me. And he laughed. I think it's the way that you do it. He was like, oh my God, my wife would kill me if he knew that I was talking to you in that way. He's like, you just seem so strong. I was like, no, it's okay. You know, so, and there's a lot of, you know, fuck this, fuck that shit, fuck, and that's fine, you know, you know, and that's totally, and I'm a sir as well. But so I think being able to, especially a lot of times when, and you know, in this one particular game, it was just a lot of men, of having to be able to still sort of be one of the team, but you don't have to become one of the boys to also do what you need to do.
So well said.
You know,
so I can't even. That was amazing.
You feel me?
I feel you. Actors literally have to go into their agencies and ask, do you submit on video games? Because I know there are a couple of things that I really want to be a part of. I would say there are those theatrical agents that submit, and there's a shit ton that don't. And so you would ask earlier, like, how I get. I mean, it's kind of the good old days of casting, where, and you know, Emily is the same in that we think of ideas, and we have ideas, and so a lot of times your booking came from in here, from in my brain. So you're fucking welcome. Because your agents sometimes don't submit, and I have to chase you down and messenger you, or you know, tweet at you or whatever, and go, hey, I mean, I tracked this one lady down in Vietnam, and was like, hey, I've been emailing your agent for 2 weeks about this. I haven't heard back. I really want you to read for this thing. And she sent back an audition. But her agents were like, how much does it pay? And so that's fine, because it paid a chunk. And so even when I told them, look, it's a really good chunk of money, and ultimately the payout is going to be like 40, 50 grand, they were like, okay, we'll get back to you. And then they forgot about it.
It's so true. And you know what? I always say to an actor, be visible. Have a website. Put your contact on IMDb. I've had the same thing. I've had somebody audition for me like 4 years ago, who then went and go, oh, he didn't like me. Like, you don't know that. You really don't know. I was in London one time, and I was auditioning for Americans, and this guy came in, and he was, most of them were terrible, but this guy came in, he was so great, and as he was leaving, I went like this. I was like, oh, where am I gonna get more like that? And I looked up, and I saw his crestfallen face at the door. I'm like, oh, you hated me, oh, I blew this. And I'm like, perfect example of you do not try to read what happened.
And also, they're on 3-year cycles. So sometimes
Right.
I'll
Don't try
audition
to-
people,
yes.
and a year later I go, you booked it! And they're like, who is this?